just when you think this dude can't get any more, what's the words I'm looking for? Lame. The title says petty. How Drake just got even more petty. We're back on the fantastic hip hop channel. Again, appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over. I'll leave the link to the channel in the description. I don't know what this is about. All right. But just seeing this title, it's like he's just swinging at the air. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
Now, after being the laughing stock of the rap world, and things only getting worse and worse with each waning moment that the world has processed everything that went down in his beef with Kendrick Lamar, Drake has finally done something to stand in the face of Kendrick and his crew and stop their unprecedented victory lap. But when we really look at what Drake just did, despite him finally pulling something off to clap back at his opponents that actually kind of worked, the measures he had to go to finally hand Team Kendrick an L is honestly pathetic, and if anybody else did this, they would be getting a ton of backlash. And what I am of course talking about is how Kendrick's former TDE label mate and longtime friend Schoolboy Q is currently on his Blue Lips Weekends tour, and as he was supposed to perform his show right within Drake's home city of Toronto, it got cancelled by the Canadian police, and having to tell people that his sold out show was not going to happen.
For those of you who may not know, Quincy, Schoolboy Q, good friend of my little brothers, they grew up together, lived in, he lived in that area where my mother lives. Known him since he was little. I heard Toronto was flooded. There's like a flood going on. Please say that has something to do with it versus Drake really making that happen, because that would be, that's like, when people be buying concert tickets for artists and then, the concert's starting and nobody shows up because, say it ain't true. Hold on.
Tour, and as he was supposed to perform his show right within Drake's home city of Toronto, it got cancelled by the Canadian police, and having to tell people that his sold out show was not going to happen, Q tweeted, "They just canceled my show in Toronto. Canadian police don't want nobody from TDE performing." And then he also went on to follow this up saying, "Pop was just with Wayne and Baby, SMH. Party Next Door had a show at the Palladium. If we wanted to get y'all, we would have just did. Now when somebody get hurt, don't cry." And now with these tweets, Schoolboy Q is telling us not just about what went down as his own tour performances had to get cancelled, but he's also just reiterating the fact that if him and Top Dog Entertainment had any real issues with OVO and Drake affiliates beyond the microphone, it would have been settled already, as the president of the label was just with Lil Wayne, and if they wanted to be petty and shut down one of Drake's OVO signees in Party Next Door from playing in their own city of LA, they could have done the same thing. And now that this has went down, Q seems to be declaring that this feud and these tensions are far from over. And I mean, when we look at this move, with TDE no longer being able to do shows in Canada, this is something we can almost confirm that Drake had his hand in, because in the past, he had the pull to do such things as get Lil Wayne back into Toronto in 2022 after being banned all the way back in 2011, and seeing how big of a star Drake is and just how much of an ambassador he is for Canada between the festivals he throws and his involvement with the Toronto Raptors. It really should not be shocking that probably the biggest star the country has ever produced has so much pull over things if he wants. And if this wasn't enough for you, Drake posting later on his IG story in a Tony Yayo shirt after Yayo recently said that any critics of Drake would no longer be welcomed in the Six, it pretty much confirms what the evidence and School's words already told us. But just because Drake is the face of Canada does not mean it's alright to do this, because out of everything Drake could have done to level the score, from releasing new music to trying other angles to diss Kendrick, TDE, and the West Coast through, this is not just one of the pettiest, but it's actually pathetic that these are the measures you have to go to counteract the impact your opponents are making, and when it comes to what this choice means. On top of how forcing a show to get cancelled right before it's about to happen makes everybody from the artist to the hardworking crews on the tour lose.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about, like, You know, I mean, for you to be able to do a show in Toronto, you know, it means you got fans out there. So it's a lot of people who might not mess with Drake. You know, I know when that dude did that Not Like Us in public, and he was going in Toronto and he was asking Kendrick or Drake, and there was a lot of people saying Kendrick. So I'm pretty sure, you know, it was going to be a lot of people there to support Schoolboy Q. And it's just crazy. Like Drake don't want nobody from that camp in Toronto to have that much pull, man. That's crazy.
Money. Drake is also literally robbing his own city and country from getting one of the best musical performances that was on their calendar this year, because as Schoolboy Q has shown in 2024, aside from his affiliation with Kendrick Lamar and his appearances at the Pop Out concert and in the Not Like Us video, he has been one of the best rappers this entire year period, as his album Blue Lips was genuinely amazing, and with Q's breathtaking performances that push the boundaries of how you can infuse passionate lyricism, emotional pain, and unpredictable production, all with one factor that few rappers, including Drake, can never showcase, which is maturity. This project is a surefire Album of the Year candidate and will go down as one of the best bodies of work from this year, and unfortunately, Canada will never be able to see Schoolboy Q remind the world of why he is one of the best rappers of the 2010s and why he's only growing more now, and with the rest of TDE and their affiliates, from Ab-Soul, J-Rock, if they are really serious about this, then SZA, and of course Kendrick Lamar. All of these names and more are banned from ever playing in Drake's home city, which is just a pathetic move, and at the end of the day, it's only going to hurt the city in the long run, as their hip-hop ecosystem will begin to get closed off from the larger hip-hop world, because with all of the other rappers who have problems with Drake, who knows how far he will end up going with this. I think what will really be telling about this is when Future and Metro Boomin go to Toronto on August 11th during their We Trust You tour. Because considering that these two were the guys who started this whole nightmare for Drake, and that they have been some of the most calculated and firm when it comes to standing on their anti-Drake stance, it very well seems like they could run into a similar problem and find out that they can't play the shows that they are supposed to. And from doing all this, I think the question we really have to look at is, what is Drake actually achieving by doing this? I mean, this is the equivalent of somebody taking their ball home because they don't want to play with everybody else anymore.
Big facts.
And if Drake starts blocking off artists who are affiliated with Kendrick Lamar and people who just don't like him from coming into his city, aside from Drake's own petty interest, which will keep his rivals away from his own turf and hurt their own pockets by having one less place to go, I guess, this will also hurt the businesses and venues that rely on some of these tours. Take, for example, the venue that was hosting Q's show, History. This was a sold-out concert with a venue capacity of 2,500 people lined up to go, and now, all the people going are not just going to get inconvenienced, but the businesses in your own city will lose money for having a show that is one of the biggest tours going on right now not coming through your city, and this is the problem. Now, despite the fact that,
I mean, he hasn't talked about the flood yet. So, I mean, I know Drake, they're saying, you know, is the face of Canada or Toronto. My whole thing is like, are they okay with losing out on that money? Unless he's gonna like slide them something under the table. But that is pretty lame though. You know. But on the flip side, what's gonna happen when Drake try to come out here and perform? So, but like he said, what Drake is being accused of, and like his whole team is being accused of, you know, maybe, you know, you don't want him here. So
this venue is partially owned by Drake. There are other stakeholders and people with jobs who are just being massively inconvenienced by this all, and what this really is showing is the fundamental difference between how Drake and a lot of the other artists in TDE just handle being big-time rappers. As Drake is being petty at the literal expense of everybody else, and when you can no longer compete with Kendrick or any of TDE lyrically or on any sort of chessboard musically, with this being the route Drake is going on, It's really just showing how desperate he is to try to get back at Kendrick and TDE for doing what seems like irreversible damage to his career, and now as this show has been cancelled and now with Schoolboy Q. After his initial social media rant and confirmation that if this is the way Team Drake wants to play, TDE won't be the aggressors, but they will take note. Q also made sure to make it clear that him and his crew would never take this beyond music, because at the end of the day, it does not matter to them. Now, whether this was when Kendrick was talking about raising his son and that his whole life is not about rap on a track like Euphoria, or Q making the point over and over again as social media was blowing up over this that he is a soccer dad. While these guys do put their heart into their art and release great songs and albums when they come out, at the end of the day, rap is a job to them, and especially now as guys like Kendrick and crew have families. They keep the rap game at arm's length from them so they can be the men and fathers that they want to be. So ridiculous antics that are under them don't follow them around everywhere they go, and at the end of the day, that is the difference with this whole situation. Drake is so petty and caught up on this feud that he is banning his competition from coming to his city regardless of who else it affects, meanwhile with TDE. Now that for all intensive purposes the main part of the battle is over, they want to go about their careers and continue their lives, and in all honesty, I think Drake needs to listen to an album like Q's Blue Lips instead of just posting up in a picture of blue slides to troll him, which if you didn't know is the third song on the Blue Lips album and serves as the thematic centerpiece of the entire project. He probably should have tried to get a ticket to his show instead of canceling it, because he wouldn't just see what it's like to make a good album at this point in your career that manages to be extremely well written and produced. But maybe then Drake would understand that he might need to start growing up a little and begin to really step up into being the man that he has been called out for not being. But as it stands, Drake is just going further into his own world of delusion, and beyond just his own thoughts, he is now making his city follow in his footsteps whether you agree with him or not. So with all of that said, let me know, how do you feel about this situation and what Drake did? And if you want to...
Look, man, I mean, I kind of get it, because, you know, they went so hard on him. But, you know, this could have been a perfect opportunity for him to be the you know, like when they say take it like a man, like with no issues. But again, I don't know if the flood had something to do with it. But again, if this dude literally is stopping them, and all those people that would have anything to do with the venue making money, that's hella petty. Hella petty. You know, it's one thing to do something because you're mad. Like, you know, like, I'm mad they can't come here. But like Drake performing in LA is more of a culture thing. Like, look, y'all need to understand this dude ain't for the culture. Don't bring him here. You know? Y'all don't understand, these rappers be paying money to be protected. I ain't talking about just security. I'm talking about the streets. Like, you know, security ain't enough. You got some real, like, hoods out there that be, like, you got to make a call. They snatching chains, they robbing you, all that stuff. You got to make a phone call. You can't just pull up. Because people see you and they be like, oh, yeah, this dude's out there. He only got like 3 security guards, man. And they send a whole, it's crazy. It's stupid, of course. But I'm just saying, that's how it is out there. Or out here. But all right, hey, appreciate you guys coming over, man. Hold on. Let me actually look at some of the comments. I think both sides can agree that Drake is far too sensitive to be getting into rap beef. Yeah. Drake went full Karen. Drake acted like he owns Canada. I mean, all right, man. Appreciate y'all coming over. Peace out.